Hi and welcome to yet another video of PiquaPavleen's. Today we'll be discussing the very famous author Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. So we have our very first book today called The Forest of Enchantments. All of you might have heard of the Ramayan, right? Some of us might have seen it on television while we were young. I know I was one of those people. You might have heard of it somewhere at least. Tell me in the comments down below, where have you heard of the Ramayan? Have you seen it? Have you read it somewhere? How do you know what the Ramayan is? So today we are not talking about Ramayan from Ram's perspective, but Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni brings us the perspective of Sita. Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni is an author. She is a creative writing professor in Houston, and she talks about women, the epics, in the Indian epics, from a woman's perspective rather than a man's perspective. So whatever struggles a woman has had in her life, in those epics which haven't been focused on much, I would say, she has put focus on those aspects. And we'll be dissecting our text, this text, piece by piece and from one phase to the other. So in this video, I'll be talking about Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and then I'll be giving a little brief summary of what the Forest of Enchantments is. And then there will be special sections, so stay on till the end so that you know what sections am I talking about. I'll also talk about a takeaway. So what can we learn, what can we imbibe from this particular book? Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, as I already told you, she's a professor in Houston, and she loves to talk about all the female characters from the great epics. Coming back to the book today that we are looking at, The Forest of Enchantments by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, let me talk about the story in brief. So, the book opens with a prologue where Sita is given a red ink pen by Valmiki. She's staying in Valmiki's ashram, and she's given a red ink pen to write the Ramayan from her perspective. Whatever pain she felt during that time, we will get to know about it with a red pen. So why is she given that red pen? Can any of you think about it? I'll give you a minute. Maybe if you want to give me your perspective why she was given a red pen, you can tell me in the comments below why did that happen. She was given that red pen because a woman is symbolic of that red color, be it her menstruation or be it the mark of vermilion, the mark of getting married. So all those signify why she was given that red pen. Now we see that she is talking about her pain and her version of the story, her version of the Ramayan, and how she endured that pain the first 14 years in Vanvas and the next 14 years when she was banished from her own kingdom by her very own husband. So now let's look at the story in brief. Firstly, Sita was born to King Janak and Queen Sunena, and in a kingdom called Mithila. She wasn't actually born, but she was found by the king in the fields, and that is why she was given this title of daughter of the earth. So she was known as the daughter of the earth, which later on we find that she can heal people through plants because she has a very, very good understanding of the medicinal herbs and she can treat people. Then what happens is that she grows up, and there's this Shiva's bow called the Haradhanu, which is there in her kingdom. So King Janak has been instructed by one of the gods that she will get married to the person who can pick up that Haradhanu and strike it. So it's a bow and an arrow. So whoever can strike it will become the person who marries Sita. So that is the story of how So that is how she gets married. And first we see Ravan coming in, but he cannot. He's a mighty ruler, and he he is one of the asuras. He's not even a normal human being. He's a supernatural being. But he's unable to pick up the bow. So the bow has magical features attached to it, and he's not able to pick up that bow because the world, the universe does not want him to become Sita's husband. Then we see that Ram comes in, Lakshman comes in, Ram comes in, and they come into the kingdom of Mithila, and how Ram strikes the Haradhanu. And there's this connection that Sita has with the Haradhanu, and she talks about her sorrows, and she's able to lift it really easily. So it's a magical godsend, and Sita can only pick it up because the Haradhanu wants her to pick it up. The Haradhanu has a spirit of its own because it's a godsend and it has those magical qualities in it. Ram strikes the Haradhanu and he destroys the bow so that no one else can strike the bow again. But then he has this vow that he has given to his father and his kingdom that all 4 of the brothers will be married together. So that is a predicament that these people are facing now. So Sita suggests that all four sisters, Sita, Urmila, Shrutakirti and Mandavi, they get married to those 4 brothers, and finally the marriage takes place and all of them are headed to the kingdom of Ayodhya in a palanquin, but they are not allowed to get any of their maids. So when they reach there are 3. So King Dasharath has 3 to 4 queens, and Kaikeyi is one of the very she has a different charm that comes out of her. And there's this scene where Kaikeyi and Sita have a confrontation. So that is something very different, because we generally see that 2 men are having a conflict, and they're fighting, they're picking up a sword, and they're fighting, they're getting into different kinds of battles, and so that the person who's the stronger one kind of gets to the stronger person gets to dominate the other one. And there's this unsaid thing between these 2 people, that who is the more powerful one. So Sita defeats Kaikeyi in that battle, and Kaikeyi is highly impressed. So that is a very different battle than what the norms tell you in general. Kaikeyi wants her son to take up the throne, Bharat, and she banishes Ram and his wife for 14 years. So Dashrath has a vow that he has given Kaikeyi, that whatever she says, whatever she asks for, he'll give her. And then these 2 are banished for 14 years. 14 years they stay away from the kingdom. They learn a lot about the forest, and the forest is said to have all the dark magic, all the dark forces coming in. So they reach a particular place wherein they can settle, and that place might be a little bit more secure than the other places in the forest. They reach this place, they reach the forest. So the forest is filled with different asuras, and you can say different demons. And one of the demons, she comes in, she's called Surpanakha, and she comes in and meets Ram, Sita. She's observing them since a very long time, and she comes in and she tries to woo Ram. But Ram has vowed that he'll only marry once, and he's already married Sita, so he'll only have one wife throughout his life. And Surpanakha, with her charms, she tries to allure Ram in, but then Ram and Lakshman, they disfigure her face, and then she gets really, really angry. So she goes back, and then Ravan, who is her brother and the ruler of that kingdom in Lanka, he's an extremely powerful asura. So he abducts Sita. So there's this trickery which happens, and Ram and Lakshman are called away, and Sita has been abducted in this chariot, this very famous and popular chariot, which again is a godsend, and it has magical qualities. The Pushpak, it's called the Pushpak, and Sita is abducted in the Pushpak. So she goes there for 1.5 years. She faces all that torture, and she's given all the comforts, but she declines any of the comforts, and she stays in the Ashoka groves. So Ravan threatens her that I can take you up and forcefully, but I don't want your body, I want your mind. I want you to be devoted to me, because he really likes the way she thinks, and he kinds of adores her thinking and her personality. So he doesn't want to take her by force, but he wants her to actually be interested in giving herself to him. So Sita declines, and she continuously keeps on declining, and there's a time when she is really fed up and she's losing all her hope, and that is where Hanuman comes in, gives her a signal, and she again, the vigor comes in. So she's been fasting all these months. She's not been eating anything, and she's devoid of any comfort. So she's just sleeping under the tree, and all the demons are torturing her day and night, so that she gives in. Her spirits break. They try their very best to break her spirit, but they are unable to do so, because Sita has practiced all this. She has practiced high quality meditation, wherein she can go inside herself, and a secluded self inside her soul, a safe place wherein none of these devilish things bother her anymore. And then there's this battle that we are all aware of. So post that we have Diwali. So Ram brings the Vanar army of Sugriv, and they finally defeat Ravan, and Sita goes back. But then here something really terrible happens, and at times this phase is something that really shakes you up from within, because this is when Ram refuses to take back Sita. I mean, this actually just gave me goosebumps while I was reading it, because someone who you truly dearly love, and you trust that person. Sita trusted him so much, and he refuses to take her back because he does not want that the kingdom, the mark of the king, because he's the king of Ayodhya, and he does not want that there should be an impure mark on that king. So she's been living with Ravan for a year, and people will talk that why was she there alone, and God knows what has happened between those two people, because Ram wasn't present there. And so then Sita, for proving her love, for proving that she's pure, she creates a funeral pyre for herself, and she burns herself alive. But here a huge twist comes in, and the god of fire also knows how pure she is, so she does not get burnt, and she's alive. She's completely alive. The fire diminishes, and now she is the daughter of earth and the daughter of fire. So she endures that pain. She's been enduring that pain for such a long time. And then again, Sita is there in Ayodhya. They are making amends, because all these years, all these 14 years, the kingdom is gone into ruin, because no one was feeling good that Ram and Sita was sent away while they had to become king and queen. So the day of their coronation as king and queen, they were sent away by Kaikeyi, and Dashrath dies because of this huge shock. And then for a little while everything's happy in the kingdom, and Sita is in Ayodhya, and she's making amends. She's growing different plants and forests, and everything seems really cheerful and happy and chirpy. But then one day Ram comes across some people, and he hears this rumor that's going on, and without telling Sita, again this is another blow that we get, and this again gives me such, this really breaks my heart. So Ram tells Sita that you can go to Valmiki's ashram for a week, because you were missing the forest, and these duties as a queen have been quite overwhelming to you. So he keeps her in the dark, and while Lakshman is about to drop her there in Valmiki's ashram, she is being told that Ram has banished her for all her life, and she is not just with herself, she's carrying Ram's children during that time. and that makes it so heartbreaking because she's carrying the children and Ram is not even aware that she has twins. So she's there in Valmiki's ashram and finally she gives birth there, and all that trauma she faces, that again he has betrayed her trust. So she endures again. She's again enduring that pain. And she gives birth, and then those children grow up, and then there's a battle between these children. 14 years have passed in that ashram, and there's this battle where those children, Love and Kush, they defeat Ram's army and they get this beautiful horse. It has such an amazing mane and it's just unreal. That horse is really beautiful. And then Sita visits Ram, and now again, this is not going according to Valmiki's story. So Valmiki tells her that this is not the correct time for you to meet Ram because she's healed him from the battle that he has had with his children. He's not aware that they are his children, but he has had that battle. And Sita heals him, but Sita does not meet him yet. So then Ram encounters Valmiki and he invites them to his own place. To his own, there's this huge puja which is there, yagna. There's a yagna, and this Rishi Valmiki, he tells Ram that how can you do it without your wife? Have you taken another wife? So Sita is hearing to that, listening to that conversation, and then they realize that he's created a golden Sita, and it's just a frame that has been created back in Ayodhya. And he'll be sitting in that yagna with them. So now, in that yagna, moving ahead, he's called those children. So he gets to know that he has children, that those children are his, and he declares them to be the heirs of the throne. But then when he calls Sita, again, this is the last, most heartbreaking blow that we get here, and Ram chooses his duties as a king more than his duties as a husband. So he weighs those two, and he feels that his duties as a king are foremost and his duties as a husband are the second most important to him. So he ignores those duties, and Sita is being called there, and again this is the final test that she gets, and there's this beautiful speech that she gives in, and she says that I will endure no more. So this is how the story goes, and I'll really recommend you guys to pick up this book and read it. It's an amazing book. And now I'll be sharing a few points that I felt we could pick up from the book, and how we can learn from what has occurred in the book. So the first part that I'll be talking about is endurance. So how Sita endured so much pain, and I'll be just talking about a few moments where she had so much pain that even though she was going through a lot of pain, she endured. She kept on enduring that pain. So the three are the blows that I told you about. The first one was when Ram refused to accept her after she was abducted by Ravan, and she came back and she had to prove herself on a funeral pyre, but no one else was there. No one else from the kingdom was around to witness that. So they did not agree to it, hence the rumors which came afterwards. And the next is when she was banished. Just due to some rumors that Ram heard, she was completely banished from the kingdom, and without her knowing. So the decision was made solely on Ram's thoughts and his way of thinking, rather than talking to Sita about it. And the third most painful one is when Ram actually, tells her to again showcase everyone in front of the kingdom that she was also the daughter of fire. And the other two are wherein Ram also faces the trouble and the trauma. So when they were banished for 14 years, they were banished from their kingdom. And the next is when Sita had been banished. So even Ram was feeling that torture without her. So because he had to choose between these two things. He had to choose between his duties as a husband and his duties towards the kingdom. So he always chose his duties towards his kingdom. He was also making up for Dashrath's faults, his father's faults. And he wanted the kingdom to be a perfect one, wherein no place is perfect. So this is what we can learn from that. So I just like to read this last pain that Sita had. So this is the last part where Sita refuses to endure pain any further, wherein Ram keeps on asking her to, make sacrifices and sacrifice her self-respect again and again to prove that, she's trustworthy. And now she refuses to prove that anymore. So Ram says, I would like you to come back to Ayodhya and live with us so that we can be a complete family. The children need you and I do too. As you know, I have never taken another wife. But there's one thing you must do first. You must go through a test by fire here in the courtroom so that the sages and attending kings and ministers of the court can witness the fire god vouching for your innocence and purity. In this way, the citizens of Ayodhya will be satisfied for good. Rage rises up in me until my whole body is scorched, for some kinds of burning don't require a fire. Not a word of love, not a word of apology for the sorrow he has caused me, not a word about the unjust and cruel way in which he sent me away. He hasn't even called me by my name. It's clear to me now what I need to do. Anger and self-pity are useless emotions, so I push them away and speak calmly, even though my heart is breaking all over again. O King of Ayodhya, I address you in this way because you've always placed your role as king ahead of your role as husband. In this court which has been set up to dispense justice to all citizens, I ask you this, for I have been a citizen of Ayodhya too. Did you act justly when you sent me away to the forest, knowing I was innocent of what gossip mongers whispered? Did you stop to think as a wise king would that there would always be people who gossip, even in the best run kingdoms, for it's their nature? Were you compassionate the way a king is meant to be when you banished me without telling me what you were about to do, without allowing me to defend myself or choose my destiny? Were you fair to your unborn children when you sentenced them to a life of hardship, perhaps even death in the wilderness? I don't agree with you that the private life must be sacrificed for the public one, and that is the final advice that I leave for my children, my dearest boys. Balance duty with love. Trust me, it can be done. I must now stand up against this unjust action you are asking of me. I wish you all happiness with my dearest love and Kush. They'll be able to stand steadfast and think carefully, using their hearts as well as their heads, understanding when they need to compromise and knowing what they must not, when they must not. And that is why, O King Ram, I must reject your kind offer to allow me to prove my innocence again, because this is one of those times when a woman must stand up and say no more. So this was the last time when she refused to endure that pain anymore. Yeah. So the next part that I would like to talk about is how someone is always there in your darkest hour with you. We've recently, all of us have faced this pandemic and we've gone through such dark times. But if we look closely and if we try to look for people or look for some ray of hope during this tough time, we'll see that we'll find something at least. So for Sita also, during her time in Vanvas in Vanvas, when she was exiled from the kingdom for 14 years, she had Ram with her and she had Lakshman with her, who were there to support her and to provide her comfort even during that time and to protect her. And when she was abducted, there was Sarama and Mandodari with her. So she had people who would support her even during those tough times. Even this demoness Trijata, she was doing her duty and to Ravan, her king, but later on she really supported Sita. So the learning that we can take from here, the takeaway that we can have from this whole story is, firstly, do not endure pain all your life, all the time, because there is one point when, the other person will keep on taking advantage of your giving. So give, but do not give so much that you give a part of yourself completely. So endure that pain till it does not cause so much pain to you. So learn to say no, learn to create that boundary. And the second thing that I would like to say is that there's always hope in your darkest hour if you look around. So if you just have to look for that hope. You'll find some place or someone or some book or some quote or something. You'll come across something that will provide that hope, that will give you that hope. Yeah, so as I was talking about what I'll be sharing, I'll be talking about Indian literature novels, and I'll be beginning with British poetry. So if you have any suggestions, You can tell me in the comments below what would you like me to read and what would you like me to dissect piece by piece, and how we can take up learning from it. Also, I talked to 3 to 4 people and they asked me that how can they improve their habit of reading, how can they inculcate that habit of reading. So take out time, like take out around half an hour to 1 hour every day and set that time in your calendar, maybe in your to-do list or whatever you prefer to make, and sit down and read at least 10 to 15 pages. Make a target every day to read 10 to 15 pages. And in the next video, I'll also talk about how, from afar, if I just open the book and I just, scroll through it. So you can see that there are sections, I've written down things here. And I've also marked in, there are different markings that I make for characters and places, so that you can identify from afar that what have I written. And you don't have to keep on reading those passages again and again, because that will take triple time than the time you took to go through a book. So that is what I used to do, especially for my exams as well, and it really helps you out. And with this, I'd like to say that if you like the content, please like the video, share the video, and please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Also, I would like to end by saying that do not endure pain, because this is the main learning that I feel we get from this book. Do not endure pain. Okay. So that's all from my side. Stay in good cheer, and until next time.